Hello. G.K. Chesterton said something like, when people stop believing in God, they don't believe in nothing, they just end up believing in anything. And I was put in mind of that when Tony Blair took over with his Labour Party from the Conservative government in the 1990s. Now, this seems to me to be a sort of prefiguring of the situation that's happening in America right now, sort of strange replaying going on. Let's look at it this way. There was Margaret Thatcher, who just brought up irrational hatred in all sorts of people. And then there was what you might call an interim government led by John Major, but it was ineffective and corrupt, and a lot of people could not forgive him and his colleagues for what they did to Thatcher. And that government fell and Tony Blair took over. And I remember being horrified by a performance I saw a bit later on. I wasn't horrified by the Conservative government falling, because it was obvious they'd been in power too long and they were corrupt. Thatcher's government was... Thatcher was losing control of her government, and then what came in afterwards was a bunch of weak political opportunists. And everybody knew that. And there wasn't really much to choose between voting at that time. There was Tony Blair or there was the Conservatives. Now, as it so happened, I voted Conservative simply because I was terrified of what Tony Blair would do. And indeed, it turned out I was quite right. He involved us in a horrible war which killed hundreds of fine young British soldiers, and he did that to massage his own ego, because he thought he was going to be as good as Thatcher, who declared war on Argentina and had made for herself a legacy by so doing. That's the only reason Tony Blair went into war in Iraq and involved Britain in an endless, pointless farrago. A mess. Anyway, but I didn't know that at the time, of course. All I could see was that Tony Blair was an actor. It was obvious. He was acting the cool, young, go-ahead leader of the country. And it didn't seem like he was going to be right. And indeed, he wasn't right. Just a minute, I'm turning the light down on this. Yeah, that's better. So all politicians have to be actors, of course, to a certain extent, but some are more actors than others. And it didn't surprise me that the acting community, the lovies of Britain, went for Tony Blair and supported him. And I was telling you about this performance. I don't remember much about it, except that it was a poem. And this poet had some cachet among the literati in Britain at the time. And it was one line that shocked me, and it was all about how terrible life had been under the Conservatives, how awful Margaret Thatcher was, and how wonderful it was that it's all stopped now, you know, like "Mummy, please stop it hurting" type of thing. And then there was this line. Let me just set the scene. I don't remember the poem, so I'm going to make something up. Death, destruction, despair, decay. But oh, Tony Blair. How wonderful you're going to make everything. That was it. But oh, Tony Blair. And it reminded me of the G.K. Chesterton saying, that when you cease to believe in God, you just start believing in anything. And Tony Blair was going to be the saviour And I've seen a couple of tweets. Unfortunately, I haven't kept them, which is a nuisance. But there was one tweet in which somebody showed a video of Biden just losing his way through a speech. It was embarrassing. I started watching it. I couldn't watch anymore. I don't like the Democrat Party. I don't like what they're doing. I don't like what they're going. And even so, watching that Biden clip embarrassed me. And somebody said, the person who tweeted it made fun of Biden. He's even worse now than he was before, something like that. And somebody underneath, if I can find it, I'll put it up there. But if I can't, please take my word for it. Somebody underneath it said, how could you possibly make fun of a man who has a speech impediment? They could not see what's in front of his or her eyes. I was absolutely flabbergasted, but that's the nature of religious belief, isn't it? You cannot see what's in front of your eyes. You can only see what's behind your eyes. Like a sort of stained glass window inside your head. And that's all you can see. You can't hear the reality. All you can hear are the chorus of angelic voices heralding the newborn king or something. I saw another, again, I don't have it, another tweet which showed Jeremy Corbyn next to Keir Starmer. By the way, Jeremy Corbyn, the old leader of the Labour Party, Keir Starmer, the new one who has expelled Jeremy Corbyn. And they were using biblical expressions, something like Corbyn will be denied 3 times, but he will rise again. Yeah, I am not making this up. So it seems like it's the same sort of thing. The people who don't believe in God have to believe in anything, so they make gods of their political leaders. Now, even people who admire Johnson, and I do admire him to a certain extent, although I think he's become somewhat ineffective recently, and I have an idea it's probably to do with the COVID thing. It knocked the stuffing out of him. But even so, I admire him, but I don't think of him as a god. I think of him as as a bit of an actor, but somebody who's got some genuine feelings about this country. But he's not the sort of persona that Corbyn is. We have to beware of this new religiosity. The problem with making a god of your political leader is that there is no continuity. I'll finish with a clip which I do know I have from John Kerry. Now, here's another bit of acting. John Kerry, who was the second in command to Obama, who was one of the biggest actors I've ever seen on the American stage, the handsome, young, cool leader of the country, like Tony Blair was. And Kerry was the elder statesman. And I just want you to go through this and just be aware of this next time you see a political leader doing this. Because that's something that Johnson doesn't do. Johnson will say, I think, we believe, I've been given advice, this sort of thing. But look at Kerry. I'm going to play it now. I'll just stop and we'll listen to him.
There will be no separate peace between Israel and the Arab world. I want to make that very clear to all of you. I've heard several prominent politicians in Israel sometimes saying, well, the Arab world's in a different place now. We just have to reach out to them and we can work some things with the Arab world and we'll deal with the Palestinians. No, 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 and no. I can tell you that reaffirmed even in the last week as I have talked to leaders of the Arab community. There will be no advance and separate peace with the Arab world without the Palestinian process and Palestinian peace. Everybody needs to understand that. That is a hard reality.
You see how he acts. First of all, he's sitting back in his chair, you know, with his legs sort of planted, and he's got these little glasses which give him an intellectual look, you know, a bookish look. And what he's saying is, this is how it is. And he's chopping the air as he's saying it. This is how it is. This will happen. This will never happen. Absolute certainty. That's the religious credo. He knew the future. Well, I understand that Netanyahu has either just been to Bahrain on a secret visit or will be going sometime soon or something, and peace is breaking out all along the Arabian Peninsula. But Kerry was so sure of himself, and he's telling everybody, this is how it will be. I know. Not a matter of advice or doubt or anything. We should beware of people with that sort of certainty. Another one, I think it was Bertrand Russell, who said that the problem with the world is that whereas intelligent people are full of doubts, fools are absolutely certain of themselves. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the Graniopteryx design or Granbo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.graniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.